I just realized my mic was muted. So, welcome to today's live coaching. It's April 16th, 2025. And I'm really glad to have you guys moving over to the better microphone. Good to have you here, Katie. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to pull you into the room any minute. Let me get that link for you so you can go in there. Yeah, the sound wasn't on, Katie, because my microphone wasn't on. So that was my fault. So there is a link, Katie, for you to come in. So just a heads up. Hi, Tina. Good to have you here. My name is Kim Ankert, the Wall Street Coach. I do these almost every Wednesday, and this is in service to the trading community. But anybody who wants to come in for coaching can. This is my way of giving back. If you're interested in my coaching and you want to have a conversation about that, please feel free to send me a DM and we can set up a call to see if what I have to offer could help you on the journey. I'll let you in the room in just 1 second, Katie. So I just wanted to put forward that one of the things that I really want to encourage everybody to do is to volunteer at some point to come in and do some live coaching here. Katie is volunteered for today, and I want everybody to feel comfortable to come in and do that. There were a couple other people this week on X that I suggest they come in to join. If you guys are here, please let me know, and then I can get that link over to you as well. So I'm just opening up X. Sometimes I get DMs or questions inside of X while I'm doing this. So I'm just double checking there's none there. All right, Katie, let me get over there and bring you into this room. Righty, there you are. How are you doing, Katie?
Hi. Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. So how's your week gone since the last session?
Well, there wasn't a huge amount of emotions that came up right away. I tried to stay conscious of that part of me that we were in touch with.
Great.
And the little word for if I feel like she's needing help. I guess when I'm feeling distressed or
Yeah.
dysregulated, they say nowadays.
Yep. Yep.
That could be a sign that she's asking for help. Would you say?
I would definitely say that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because if any of us get triggered, all the ages we've ever been are going to be triggered within us. So, yes, I think that's a great indicator. Because, too, we want to remember that the younger versions of ourselves, they were so accustomed to, in a sense, dysregulation that they may not even realize that it's not the ideal state, right? Because it became such a way of life that they didn't even know that was maybe not what they had to live in for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Like one of the things I think I commented on your YouTube this week was when I have time for myself where I'm not, I'm downtime on the weekends. A lot of times it happens Sundays. It used to be a thing about having anxiety about Monday, but it's also just space. And I get anxiety and depression and start freaking out because I get overwhelmed by all the choices and not really knowing how to tune into my own impulses or inspiration. So that's what I'm kind of working on next, I think.
So if it's okay with you, I'm going to just make a suggestion around how to look at this from a different perspective. Is it possible that what's really happening is if there is an activity that could potentially feel unsafe?
Like an activity that's like
no activity.
Oh,
emptiness, just a day with no plan. being still,
Mhm.
not having 10 things to do. Is
Mhm.
it possible that the stillness itself is what is triggering?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And so if you had to cope with a lot of stimulation when you were a kid and constantly had to find a way to navigate that, not having it feels potentially unfamiliar.
Yeah, my household may not have had enough of that comfortable space, comfortable
Correct.
with,
Correct. So to have stillness, one of the things that anybody who's gone through a challenging childhood uh, is usually very, very good at is vigilance.
mm, vigilance.
Vigilance is a state of sort of ready for anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes,
Because
yeah.
if you had a volatile childhood, anything could happen at any time.
Yeah, I've actually bragged about my ability to handle like emergency situations because for some reason
100%.
I'm able to handle them with more calm and
Not for some reason, Katie, because when
because of
you
that,
were a
maybe.
kid, you either figured that shit out quick or you were screwed.
Yeah.
You paid a price.
Mm-hmm.
So, what an incredible skill set you have acquired, whether
Mm,
you wanted it or not.
yeah.
And when one has that incredible capacity for eyes in the back of their head, right? What's the other catchphrase? That's a great one is always looking over your shoulder for the other shoe that's going to drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you experience volatility in childhood, you know another shoe is eventually going to drop.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so you might as well get ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
challenge that comes, one of the many challenges that comes from a volatile childhood is discomfort with no need for vigilance.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because vigilance is how we stayed alive or kept safe. And so it's sort of our security blanket.
Mhm.
So if a kid has a security blanket, what happens when that security blanket's taken away? We're like naked. Where's my comfort?
Yeah.
Where's the feeling of, I know what to do with vigilance, but
Yeah.
I don't know what to do without it.
Mhm.
So we have to begin to practice micro experiences
Mhm.
of non-vigilance. And
Mhm.
we have to do it with baby steps, with
Mhm.
compassion, with understanding that this is going to be triggering in a sense for us and for our nervous system.
Right. Like I do have a meditation practice, which is helpful. I really enjoy that.
That's great.
And my counseling today, I have two more counseling sessions.
Good.
And when I mentioned this to her, she said, "How about a menu?" And I thought that was a fun idea.
That's
When you
excellent.
have space, like there's something your brain can look at and say, "Oh, I could do this or this or this or this."
Great. It's a
I mean,
great idea. It's a
it's still
great idea.
doing something, but like fun stuff,
Yeah,
like
totally fun stuff.
it, self-care or
Abs-
creativity or
Absolutely. Creating that menu, first of all, allows you to self reflect on what you need,
Mhm.
self reflect on uh, putting some time and energy around all the choices that may not be available to you in the throes of that anxiousness.
Mhm.
And if you feel in, you know, that you want to take this on, I would say find ways to give yourself some exposure to stillness in small doses. And the two questions I learned from Raphael Kushner that really still to this day help me are, what's happening now? And can I be with it? And so if you are checking on whether or not you can be with it, then at some point you'll notice, oh, I don't want to be with this anymore. It doesn't feel like I can take this more than I've already taken it. And at that point, you can put it down and back out and come back and go back to the menu or go back even to the meditation. And this is interesting too, that meditation is a great practice, and it can also sometimes be an activity. And again, the inquiry is, what would it be like for me to not be always plugged into activities? And we want to meet that part of ourselves with as much compassion and patience as possible. Because like a pinball machine, we don't want to tilt our operating system. What were we going to say?
I was just going to add, it's a little sidebar, but maybe it's related. I started using brackets in my trading because I was having such a hard time stopping out. It's a total psychological block. And the brackets are so helpful.
So good.
It's funny, it's so simple, but even though they stop me out where I'm supposed to stop out, I still get in this really nasty mood because when it doesn't go my way, and it's hard for me not to just be happy that I didn't lose a bunch of money,
Well, I think what's being triggered, and you tell me if this is correct, is the anger over you not being right, over not going the way you wanted it to.
Yeah.
And that is, it's understandable for all humans to be disappointed, frustrated, angry when things don't go the way we want. And it is interesting, especially for traders, if one finds oneself in a game or a journey as a trader where all the best of the best say that you can lose up to 60% of the time and still be profitable. So if that is the kind of game you're playing, then I would say start to get curious about what is that anger coming from? Because if you have signed up to be in this game, that means you have to sign up to the way it unfolds. And the way it unfolds is that you will likely be wrong a lot of the time. And if that is still triggering to you, it isn't the game you're playing that's the issue. It's your relationship to being wrong. And I think that is a very powerful inquiry. But it's likely for you and for many other traders, being wrong possibly triggers a fundamental sense of your sense of value. If we think our value is tied up to being right, if our acceptance as a child or our love as a child was completely conditional, then the anger one has when one is wrong is going to seemingly be very big, very triggering,
Right.
because we all know as human beings, if we are not in the tribe, we're dead.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing one of your interviews that they talked about the neurology behind that.
Correct.
Um,
And it's possible when you're wrong in a trade, and this would go for a lot of traders, it could be that that anger is, if it's potentially like, wow, this, I'm doing this all the time and I still get just as charged up by it, that is an indication that there might be some collapsing of your self-worth to being right.
mhm.
And that would be worth exploring,
Yeah. Yeah.
but with a
I
lot of
think so.
compassion. With a lot
Yeah,
of compassion.
I know. I got to figure out a way to practice acceptance of myself in situations where maybe I was wrong or, you know.
Yep. But I think being able to do that, it has to start with coming to terms with what the current beliefs are. And
Mhm.
that would be probably a good exercise for you.
Mhm.
Allow yourself maybe some space to journal out all the beliefs that you have about yourself. Don't hold back. Just let them all pour out on the paper. And then afterwards, you can take a look and see, are those beliefs really my beliefs? Or are they some of the things I was told as a kid?
Mhm.
Because maybe the caretakers I had short patience or frustration that had really nothing to do with me.
Yeah, I could try and do that.
That would be great. And the other thing too, when you finish that list, is look at that list also from the standpoint of, is a belief about yourself possibly informed by an inner critic
Mhm.
or an inner judge?
Which it could be related to what you were saying before too.
Exactly. Because the inner critic will always tell us our value is determined by what we earn, not who we are fundamentally.
Right.
Did you ever see the guy Shlomo?
Shlomo. I don't know.
He
I don't
is
remember it.
he is this very cool man that used to be, I think he was a brain surgeon.
Mhm.
And if you just Google Shlomo, it should come up. It's like a 15-minute short that I think was on 60 Minutes a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure he just popped right up. It's not a lot of guys named Shlomo.
Yeah.
So he was a brain surgeon. And at some point, he just was like, he had the fancy car, he had the fancy house. I think he even had a fancy wife. And it's just one day he's like, I'm not happy. And so he started to rollerblade on Santa Monica Boulevard Beach. I guess there's this long ass beach that goes in California. He just started rollerblading it every day, every day, every day. And he talks about how he's so happy now doing really nothing, right?
Yeah.
And he created his life to be a life where, like, he has a studio apartment, he eats very simple, very inexpensively, but like he's so at peace, right? Now,
Yeah.
not everybody's gonna want to live like Shlomo, and I'm not saying everybody should,
Yeah.
but he could see at a time when he left being a doctor that he was being all the things he was told he should be. He should be married. He should be a doctor. He should have a car and a good, beautiful, fancy house. And at some point, he was like, "But I don't even want these things. Like, why did I just get them? So I think a lot of people in life, Katie, sometimes just are doing things because that's what the culture has told us is expected of us
Yeah.
without really inquiring if what we want is what we want.
Yeah, there might be some of that hiding in my psyche,
Yeah.
like
And
most of us.
with good reason, right? With good reason, because to let that flag fly in your youth probably was not been a good idea.
To let to
To
just
let your authentic self show.
right. Yeah.
And if you were smart enough to realize, oh, I better keep that authentic self of mine hidden, that helped you navigate it. So well done. You did. But you're not in it anymore. You are safe now to let that flag fly. You are safe to be your authentic self.
I'm trying to find the courage and find myself and the courage to.
Yep. And it takes a minute, especially if you've got decades of experience hiding yourself.
Yeah.
Even from you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, this morning I was talking about this with a client. Did you ever see The Runaway Bride?
Who was in it? I forget.
Julia Roberts and Richard Gere.
I don't know if I ever saw it.
So it's a good movie to watch. She keeps getting to the altar with a fiance, and then she runs right before the marriage vows. And Richard Gere is a reporter who's kind of curious, like, what is going on? This woman keeps meeting these guys and keeps running right before. And, of course, it's a Hollywood story. But what's fascinating is at some point, as he meets all her rejected fiancés, he asks the guys how did she take her eggs? And every man who each had a different egg order tells him, oh, she liked them just like me, poached. And then he talks to fiance number 2. Oh, she took them just like me, over easy. And then he talks to the third guy. Oh, she took it just like me, scrambled. And the fourth guy, I don't know what way that was. He is like, she took her eggs all these different ways. And so at some point, as their relationship develops, he says to her, you don't even know how you like your eggs.
Oh, I can see where you're going with this. She hadn't found herself.
Correct.
So it was, but she had the smarts to run.
Yes, 100%.
That's a good thing, at least.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So there's this scene at the end of the movie where she makes all the different ways you can make eggs. She makes the poached, she makes the over easy, she makes the scrambled. And you know what she does? She takes a fork and she just sits by herself in the kitchen and tastes each one to figure out which one she likes.
That's cool. I love it.
So I think, Katie, you have a lot of egg dishes to prepare.
I think I like poached.
Excellent.
There are a few things that I could explore to really help. I sometimes need
poached is what you like in your eggs, but use that same metaphor in all of the journey, including possibly your trading.
Yeah.
Are there strategies? Are there styles of trading that perhaps will be more suited to you? If
Possibly.
being wrong is very triggering for you and you are going to work on that, are there ways to trade that won't be as triggering? Like,
think,
why fight City Hall?
yeah, I think that I need to be pickier about. I don't think it's the strategy. I think I'm tending to overtrade and I'm tending to stray from the strategy, make it a little, I'm being too loose with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get mad at myself for not being more patient and pick and selective.
Yep.
But
So that would be then looking at what is informing that behavior. And again, if you can try to be an observer of yourself without judging yourself, you'll have a better chance of discovery.
mm-hmm.
But if you're mad at yourself, you're going to be going into a contraction.
Yeah.
If you can observe yourself like a detective would, how fascinating. You have a better chance at understanding how you operate.
Mm-hmm.
That is what every trader wants to seek.
Mm-hmm.
How do I operate in this environment?
Yeah.
Not what's wrong with me, but oh, that seems to be how I operate. I wonder where that comes from. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder how I might be able to heal that reaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It almost, I'm trying to build more detachment from the process so that I am more selective and disciplined. So
And
part of that is
notice when you're not disciplined, what are the variables? What's involved?
mm-hmm.
What's at stake? What are your needs? Do you check that needs list before you trade each day that I hand out?
I haven't been checking the needs list each day.
I would check at that because first I would check in before your trading day begins on what do you feel? If you're consciously going into the market feeling angry, depressed, apathetic, frustrated, you want to know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is like, ooh, am I even in a headspace to trade today?
Yeah.
I didn't sleep last night. I'm annoyed about so and so. This pissed me off this morning. And I feel like I've been waiting for the doctor's office to call for 4 weeks and they haven't. I'm feeling very impatient, very triggered, and pissed off. And the day hasn't even begun.
Yeah. We don't want to trade when we feel like that.
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
So that checking in before the trading begins is a good thing.
For sure. I try to do somewhat of a routine, but
that's great. That's great.
But
And then if you are feeling that way, I would also further ask yourself, what needs did I not get met that caused these unpleasant feelings?
okay.
Well, I didn't feel heard, or I had a hard time with so-and-so and they made me feel, not disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that's afoot, that will also influence the trader to take trades hoping to get the need met through the market. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and somehow it seems like all of this is connected.
We are very adept at trying to get our needs met, even to the point of us being completely unconscious to that being what's driving us. It's like survival.
Yeah. It's quite a journey to
it is.
Uncover what our needs are and how to meet them and then
keep
boundaries with my trading.
It's also, something for those who didn't get to grow up in an environment where their needs were a priority. It's harder for those of us who didn't grow up with that because we're not used to getting to have our needs matter. So we have that extra weight, the heavier lift, because it doesn't come to us naturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely always some need, it seems, that is missing from our family of origin.
Usually a lot. And the reason that is the case is because most of our parents, they didn't get their needs met by their parents.
Yeah.
And go back all the generations.
Yeah.
So we're the product of multi-generations not realizing they had needs, that they had a right to those needs, and that the feelings that come up when needs are not met are just human.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the feelings that we all have, that they're normal. I mean, 5 of the so-called 7 deadly sins, 5 of them are just feelings. We've been made to feel ashamed for being human.
That's interesting. I had never thought of that. The 7 deadly sins: greed. What's the other ones?
Lust.
Well, everybody's, we're doomed.
Well, we're not doomed.
Well, I mean, if we fall into that.
Yeah, pride is just a feeling. Greed, just a feeling. Lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth.
Huh. Oh, I guess those are all pretty much things that humans love to do or just naturally have.
If you look underneath each of them, like pride, what is pride? It's the need for respect, self-respect, right? What's greed? What's underneath greed? Security, feeling like you have enough. Lust is just sexual expression. Right? Envy is that feeling of looking at somebody else, but that's probably informed by you feeling like you're not enough or you don't have enough. Gluttony is to take too much, but that too would be informed by somebody not feeling secure. Wrath is just anger. It's just a feeling. And we have anger when our needs aren't met. And we have a lot of anger if we never get our needs met. And sloth is an experience of apathy.
Or it could just be relaxing.
It could be, but most inner gremlins will tell us it's sloth.
Yeah. That's so ingrained in our collective consciousness.
100%.
Especially from certain religious, I guess, backgrounds.
For sure. But even those that aren't religious, we all know what the 7 deadly sins are for the most part. I mean, we had to look them up, but we know it when we feel it. We feel guilty. We feel bad. We feel ashamed.
Yeah, we have to reinterpret that.
I would agree. Yeah. And that's part of why, I try to get this tool that Mr. Marshall Rosenberg created. His work was life-changing, still is life-changing for me. It's a game changer to begin to understand what your needs are. And it's a game changer to even begin to understand feelings. And having grew up myself in a house where that was not encouraged, it took a minute for me to learn this for myself. And I saw how much it changed my life, and I see how much it changes my client's life.
Yeah. I've noticed that my husband doesn't even seem to know when he's angry, and it's really blatant. That's such a blatant expression of emotion. I definitely know when I'm angry, but then I started to realize, well, there's some things that I'm not noticing here too. I'm still
Yep.
trying to figure out how to pay, finding
Yep.
my needs or my desires, or my paying attention to, I don't know, just where the feelings come from. I feel like I'm able to identify my feelings, but I don't always know how to handle them. I guess.
I get that. I think that's normal, really understandable if we're just not used to having a safe space for all the feelings to be welcome.
Yeah, and I think giving myself that safe space is what I'm kind of learning.
Yep.
Like, okay, I'm gonna
Yep.
get curious. Well, I'm feeling this right now, or envy, or feeling left out, or I have
That's
that a lot.
that's why I would say keep that list handy, because those feelings you want to, even having language and that feelings list isn't even complete. There's a wheel. I don't have it in my office. I have it in my house, but there is a wheel of feelings with just countless words that are filled with nuance. Having the fluency of feelings is really important. And I've been surprised over how few of us have the fluency of how and what we feel.
Mhm.
So I would say keep that list on you
Mhm.
and see if you can start to name how you feel. Even if you don't know how to be with it, at least name it.
Mhm.
That begins to get you connected to those feelings in a new sort of way.
Okay.
So notice the feeling. I always suggest to clients spot check once or twice a day. How do I feel? I feel numb. That
Mhm.
counts.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
feel frustrated. I
Mhm.
feel joyful.
Mhm.
Notice what the feeling is. And then if it's pleasant, track it back to what need of mine got met. Oh, I had a great conversation with a friend. My need for being heard was met.
Mhm.
If you check in and the feeling you have is unpleasant, look at the needs list and ask yourself what need did not get met. And
Okay.
at least identifying the need that didn't get met and giving yourself empathy for that not getting met will take a bit of the edge off.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
how's that for homework assignment?
it's good.
Good.
It's a practice that can be done all day long.
It can be, but don't do too much. Just once or twice a day.
Yeah.
Once or twice a day. That's it. Keep it simple.
Okay.
Okay? It's good to see you, Katie.
Good to see you. Thank
All
you
right,
so
sweetheart.
much.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
Let me know. Okay.
All right.
Aloha for now. Bye, honey. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, let me know if anybody else wants to come in for some speed coaching. I've got roughly 20 minutes left, and then I'm gotta go. So today's conversation, I think, is so applicable for so many traders because often traders are in the throes of feelings that they aren't really clear on. And therefore, those needs that were perhaps not met prior to the day's trading are invisibly hijacking them and causing them to overtrade, trade outside of your strategy, not stay disciplined, feeling afraid, all matters of frustration that you experience often are being caused by basic needs not being met. And here's the thing, guys, even if those feelings are in place while you're trading, you knowing this is the case is going to make a difference, because you're going to be clear. Oh, what's driving me right now? It's that frustration. It's that anger. It's that insecurity. Oh, Katie, you're so welcome. I'm so glad you were here today. Thank you for coming into the room. And please, everybody who's here, please give Katie some support and encouragement, because it takes a lot of guts to come into this room in front of all these people and have this conversation. So please show support to Katie and encouragement, because every trader that comes in here, guys, they are speaking what you guys are going through too. She certainly isn't the only one. No trader is ever going through what they're going through as the only one. And that's something I think that can easily be believed when you're in a lot of isolation. And that's why it's really important for, I hope, at least this weekly conversation to sink into you guys that you are not the only one, that you are not as, oh, I'm the only one who's doing this, or this. You're not. You're not. Everybody has a struggle. The key is to come to terms with what the struggle is without making yourself wrong, without beating yourself up, without, saying what an idiot I am. None of that is going to help you ultimately shift up and out of whatever the limiting behavior is. And that is what you want to do. You want to up level yourself. You want to transcend the places you're held back, right? So if you want to do that, then beating yourself up isn't how that happens. People have a tendency to take discipline and make that be like a way to beat the hell out of themselves. That is not how it works. The key is to get yourself out of a contraction. But if you feel shame every time you make a mistake, and then you layer that shame on with guilt and feeling lousy about yourself, you're just keeping yourself further and further away from the change you want to create. If you're constantly having your inner critic say to you things like you should, should, would, or could, those are signs that the inner critic, your inner gremlin, is hijacked you. And change is possible, but it has to be able to be done. When you force it, when you're coming from a place of, I'm just going to force myself to go to the gym, that just doesn't work for the long term. It has to become a way that you see yourself. And that's what this email this week is going to be about. My email. And if you guys aren't signed up for Curtain Call, please do sign up for Curtain Call. That's my weekly email. And what's the heart of that? The heart of that is a conversation each week that are issues that traders struggle with. And that is a big one, is when you are constantly pushing yourself, forcing yourself, if you will, you aren't coming from a place of a flow state. And so that often has a lot to do with how you view yourself, the things you say about yourself. And that was one of the exercises I gave Katie today, was for her to spend time listing all the things about herself that she believes herself to be. And the reason I would recommend that to anybody is you're going to find yourself saying statements like this. I've always been an impatient person, or I always speed. I drive really fast all the time, or I don't cook. Right? We have all of these kinds of phrases inside of us. And the reason this exercise is so good is because it helps us see how limited our own perception is of ourselves. And that can't change until you identify. If you believe you're lazy, if you believe you're undisciplined, if you believe you don't cook, then you will keep staying true to those beliefs. So the key here is, guys, you want to really start to investigate What are your beliefs? Because those beliefs are what are crafting the life that you live. And those beliefs are potentially limiting you. Now, there are good beliefs. I used to have a belief back in New York City that I always got a bus or a cab or a limo back in the day before we had Uber. There were a lot of limos around New York City. I had a belief that at any time I needed a car or a ride, so to speak, I would get one. Now, that was a belief. And let me tell you guys, I would just have to go to the street and put my arm up, and within minutes, I would get a car. And I had friends who all lived in the city. They were always getting cabs too, car services. And every time these friends would be with me, they'd be like, I have never seen anybody get a car so quick, Kim, like you do. But it was because I believed I was excellent at that little job. And damn it, I always got one. And I'm going to tell you guys two stories that I would not believe if I were you, but they are the truth. They're so outlandish that I still do not believe they happened. But I had not one, but two New York City buses stop for me. One of them was off duty. It was on the upper, was the east side of Manhattan, like the East Village. I was on 14th Street. I lived on 14th Street and Avenue B, and I was way downtown, kind of like probably near First or Second. So it was like 14 blocks. It was snowy. It was cold, and I was at a bus stop, but at some point I was like, this bus is not coming. Sometimes buses didn't come. So I went out of the bus stop towards the street, and I thought I'm just going to have to get a cab home because, you're always trying to save money in New York. You have a Metro card for the buses or the subways, but there was no subway that was going to do me good. So I was waiting for the bus. And then at some point I was like, okay, this guy's not probably coming. So I'm just going to go out and get a cab. Well, I'm outside of the bus stop, and I see an out of service bus. His lights are off inside this bus. He stopped. It was late at night, so there's really no cars on the road. He stopped, and I'm looking at him like, "What are you doing?" And he opens the door. He's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "14th Street." He's like, "Get on." I'm like, "You're off duty." He's like, "It's okay." So that is just such a simple, silly example of how you will live the beliefs you have about yourself, right? That was a positive belief, right? I always can get a car. I always can get a ride. I can always get a ride quickly. But I want you guys to think about how it also comes true when you have limiting beliefs. I always lose. I always get frustrated when I lose. I always get angry. All of these things about yourself. I don't cook. I always the winner at the lottery or whatever. All of these beliefs, guys, we live into. So that's my homework to everybody and to you too, Katie. Write down all the beliefs you have about yourself, then and write pages and pages. You should have at least 100 things that you believe about yourself. I think you could have 500 things, but let's just start with 100. Then I want you to very carefully go back after you put this list down for a little bit of time and ask yourself, what beliefs here are limiting? What beliefs are coming from my inner critic or inner gremlin? What beliefs are beliefs that I actually was told about myself as a little kid? If a kid falls off their bike a couple times when they're learning how to ride, their parent might say, "You're so clumsy," or "You're so uncoordinated." Or some kid at school said that to you. Is that something you believed and you still say about yourself? Or "I'm always overweight," or "I'm always underweight," or "I don't go to the gym. I'm not a gym type person." Or "I am a gym type person." Whatever these beliefs are, guys, I want you to write them all down. And then I want you to look at that list from the standpoint of What ones are holding you back? What ones are potentially costing you in ways that you've never really paid attention to? All right, that's your homework. Who's taking that homework on? Let me hear how many people are taking that homework on. I would like to know. Besides Katie, who already agreed. Anybody here? 124 people. Come on, somebody must be taking it on. All right. Nobody's communicative today. We have quiet people, but Nicole is here. Thanks, Nicole, for shouting out Katie. That was very nice of you to do. And Tina, thank you too for doing that to Katie. All right, guys, I hope you'll take that homework on. In coaching, one of the things that I say all the time to clients is that they can do one of three things with their homework. They can agree. Good job, Nicole. I'm excited you're going to take it on. You can agree to your homework, you can disagree, or you counter offer. So that's you can agree to this homework, guys. You can disagree with the homework, or you can counter offer. But it sounds like Nicole and Tina have taken it on, and of course Katie, and I hope the rest of you take it on too. But I think it's a really good exercise to look under the hood of all the beliefs you have about yourself. Tina said, Kim, there's like a 30-second delay on YouTube. That is helpful to know, Tina. Thank you. Tina is my unpaid assistant in all of these lives. We got to get you a salary one day, Tina, for taking such good care of me here. I didn't know there was a delay. I wonder why there's a delay. Is that because I had cursed like a sailor? I'm just kidding. I'm probably. That is so funny. So Tina's like, if you don't see our answers straight away, Kim, you know why now. So thank you for telling me that. That's very helpful. All right. So that is the homework. The homework, guys, is simply to have you start to be present to all the beliefs you have about yourself and to look at them from a distance. Like I said before, with the example of me always catching a car service like 123 in New York or a cab way before there was Uber. That is a belief that I had that served me. It didn't limit me. In fact, it opened me up to all of possibility. Everyone, that's true, Tina. It's everyone okay? That's good. No, maybe it's me because I curse a lot. Maybe YouTube has like put an X, like, oh, that girl, we're gonna have to give her a 30-second delay. Just like national television, right? They have what they have on was like an 18-second delay for live TV. I don't remember what it was, but back in the day when people used to watch TV, ABC, CBS, NBC. All right, guys. So that is your homework. You're going to write down at least 100 beliefs about yourself. After you do that, I want you to then revisit the list. I'm shy. I'm an extrovert. I like the mats, right? All of these are beliefs that you possibly have never questioned. And this exercise is about you just coming to terms with all the beliefs you have about yourself and identifying, are there any there that are holding you back or limiting you? That is the key, because ultimately, what we want to do is get rid of any dead weight, anything that's holding you back. And the only way we can ever do that for any of us on the journey of wanting to become better versions of ourselves is if we can neutrally observe ourselves. In my experience, I seem to see most people don't have the ability to observe themselves without judgment. In my experience, most of the people that I meet, and not just as a coach, but just humans, most are very hard on themselves, very judgmental of themselves, very critical of themselves, very ashamed of themselves, and feel broken as if something's wrong with them, instead of just realizing that's part of the human condition of feeling like you're not enough as is. And that sometimes is harder and stronger in other people. Usually, those with really difficult childhoods have it stronger. And so, this exercise is about you beginning to become this neutral observer of yourself so that you can start to see, oh, maybe some of these beliefs aren't actually mine, but I just adopted them because they were said so frequently to me that I didn't even question whether they were accurate. All right. So I will be back here next week, same bat time, same bat station. And I'm very curious if we can have a couple of volunteers to come into the conversation to share what you guys discover on this homework and see what changes in your trading because of the knowledge. All right. I'm sending you guys a lot of aloha. Thank you, Katie, for coming into the room today. And thank you, everybody, for participating. And I'm going to say a hui ho for now. Be good to yourselves out there, everybody. And I'll see you next Wednesday at, I think, the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern. All right. Aloha.